everybody, we're Nick and Janae. How's it going? Thanks so much for joining us. I heard about a rumor that Banksy, the street artist, was encouraging people to shoplift. Yeah. Specifically at a certain retailer. Guess. Don't guess who it is. I mean, it is Guess.
Guess, yeah.
Guess. The retailer who makes clothes. Guess. So that sounded really strange to me. I mean, I know that Banksy is anti-capitalism, but why specifically this call out? So we wanted to dig into that deeper and share with you some of the interesting things that I think Nick has found. Yeah?
Yeah. So let's jump into it. I saw this article and it was saying, Banksy was saying encourage people to shoplift at Guess. And the first thing that caught my attention was the Guess storefront had his images on it, which I thought, okay, if a big company like that is having the images, it's probably licensed. Then, big brands don't normally just go and put somebody else's work that they don't own on advertising or on product. And then on the glass of the storefront, it said, Guess and Brandalize providing Banksy artwork or something like that, inspired by Banksy. But you could see it looks like a very official collaboration. Legal has passed through the way that we're going to talk about it. A lot of times there's a lot of small details that go into if it's so-and-so presents this thing, Disney presents this. It's called a lockup. It's kind of the way that the logos have to appear next to each other.
Somebody times somebody or somebody and somebody.
So, in the past, at Besame, it wasn't a Times, it wasn't a co-brand. Mm-hmm. So, the Disney logo and the Besame logo could not appear on the same panel, of a box. They had to be on different panels because it was not a lockup. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you see them do co-brands that are like Disney Times, whatever the brand is, and then the logo always has to appear in that approved way. The fact that it was Guess and this other brand and Banksy and all of it looked like somebody had, from a legal perspective, approved the way that all of the credit would be attributed.
But I do have a question.
Yes.
So you said it's Guess and Brandalize?
Yes.
So what is that?
This was the rabbit hole I was diving into. A little snippet from the press release that I will put up right here is essentially from a couple weeks ago before all this happened that Guess put out. Says Guess is excited to announce a brand new capsule collection inspired by Banksy's graffiti, created in partnership with Brandalized, an urban graffiti license. I think they were trying to say licensee or licensor. A graffiti license whose mission is to offer Banksy fans affordable graffiti collectibles. There's some typos in a press release from Guess, which is a little concerning.
Never a good sign.
So it's interesting that in the text it says inspired by Banksy graffiti, but the headline is Guess in partnership with Brandalize to create a special capsule collection with graffiti by Banksy. So is it inspired by or is it by him? To answer your question, Guess is saying, hey, we paid for a license. We didn't do anything wrong. Okay,
but what is Banksy saying?
Banksy is saying he does not collaborate with anybody, or he doesn't do merchandising I think it was merch.
It doesn't sound like something he would do.
No, but Brandalize, the company that Guess partnered with, their whole deal is that they are supposed to be representing Banksy's pieces of art, which is interesting because he doesn't necessarily do that. It seemed like their whole mission statement was being able to bring collectibles of streetwear fans at an affordable price, where maybe originals or whatever are not able to be obtained by normal people, which seemed like an honest enough kind of brand mission. But what was really interesting is that if you look at the people that they've collaborated with on that Brandalize site, there's a lot of other big streetwear brands. I found this article where it's this brand, I'm not going to pronounce this right. It's Evisu, Evisu. I think that's Evisu.
Yeah.
There's an article from May of 2021 saying Brandalize tags Evisu for Banksy gear, talking about how Evisu, this streetwear brand, was collaborating with Brandalized to make to make Banksy stuff. So they've been doing this for some time now without this kind of big fanfare. And
why now then? From what I understand, Banksy is calling for shoplifting because he's claiming
didn't approve
that guests stole from him his artwork. So you should go steal guests. So
there's
clothes.
There's a couple missing pieces here, but either A, the specific pieces that they used in their collection are pieces that Brandalize did not have the rights to. Maybe. But unlikely, because they seem to have kind of a brand deck and approved images that you can use, and it looks like they're very collaborative.
Now, how are they getting away with that?
Well, it says that they are the official license holders for Banksy art. Now, I haven't been able to find any articles that talk about Banksy signing on with this, or Banksy's company that he has do his stuff for him. I can't remember the Pest Control, I think it's called.
Okay.
I haven't been able to find anything. If you guys find any articles or anything that talks about Brandalize and his kind of company working together, please drop it in the comments so we could kind of follow up on this. But it looks like this company has been doling out his IP for some time now to make other collaborations. Maybe the streetwear angle, the collectible angle, was something that was a little bit more in the vein of what he was okay with, and Guess was a little bit too mainstream, and Brandalize maybe took a leap there and used an agreement that maybe had been to license out the artwork for more collectible items and used it for a more mass market retailer. And he's
but you think he'd have to sign off on who gets to use his artwork, or does he, as an artist who gives his art to a licensor, does he just waive getting to agree to these things? Or is graffiti considered public domain? Or is it considered IP?
I don't know that. Well, I think there was a there was just an EU court case that Banksy won, saying that his art was defendable as art.
I mean, I think that makes complete sense.
Even though it's not able to be attributed to a person because he's remaining anonymous.
He's anonymous, and it's technically graffiti, which is technically illegal, right?
But you have to look at the fact that this company has existed and is existing with this mission statement saying that they're licensing, or they have the authority to license Banksy art. And for some reason we're not...
Do they have any other graffiti artists?
No, this
Really?
company only seems to exist for Banksy art. Now, what's even weirder is that they have... Brandalize has another side to their business called Full Color Black. They make greeting cards with Banksy artwork on them. Reading from their About Us. Welcome to the USA public site of our company, Full Color Black. We are a contemporary art licensing company specializing in the commercialization of world-famous street art. We are also internationally operating greeting card publisher that sends cards throughout the world daily. It just doesn't quite feel real. And you try to go on the Brandalize About Us page, and it just doesn't load. It just doesn't load. I'll throw that up on the screen now, the loading screen that led to a fullcolor.black domain for the About Us on Brandalize, but just would not load. In my research, a different article had the little pull quote saying Brandalize, which has the urban graffiti license to offer Banksy fans affordable graffiti collectibles. That's the way they referred to Brandalize. So again, there might have been some kind of working agreement to offer the Banksy artwork in very specific kind of collectible types
but what does that even mean?
Without seeing the agreement or
right.
kind of seeing, but they've been doing
Like
you
as
know,
a print, as a Funko Pop?
they've
Like,
been doing, you know the guys that are, they're not Lego guys, but they're not Funko Pops. They're like the big, you know what I'm talking about?
mhm.
Those like,
Yeah,
are
yeah,
those
yeah.
kind of like streetwear ones. Like I think Drake has a bunch.
And then the ones
They
with
kind
the
of look
Mickey
like
ears.
Mickey. They kind of look like Mickey.
Yeah.
Okay, so they've done versions of Banksy art in that kind of form factor.
Oh, they have?
Yes, they have.
Okay, that's
again,
collectibles, right?
Which again is kind of lending credence to this idea that Brandalize was existing to be able to make Banksy product in a, I don't want to say like commercially acceptable, but in a way that I guess was not ruffling any feathers. And I'm thinking, this
greeting cards, I guess, could have really gone unnoticed.
I'm guessing this guess thing was a little bit too mass market, and that's where we're tipping the scales. But it's really interesting that Banksy is not talking about Brandalize offering the license, because Guess is not saying, hey, we messed up, or whatever. They're falling back on, we signed an agreement with Brandalize. Brandalize's website says that they have the right to do this. So it's weird that you're coming back and saying this or that. So maybe Brandalize was stretching or misrepresenting what they could and could not do.
Is that what you think is happening, maybe?
That's what I think is happening. I think maybe we're in a gray area because it is not like a very well-known character or a well-known IP. If it were like, oh, it's Pan Am and I know who owns it, I know who originally made it, I know how much money they're gonna get, I know how much it cost me to do it. There's a very clean paper trail. But with something like Banksy, maybe he's like, I don't want to do that, I do want to do that, that's okay, that's not okay. And operating in this kind of more gray area, this company had maybe like a handshake deal, maybe even, to be able to use his stuff without retaliation from him, and he got a cut of it. Maybe. And then this guest, or
maybe it's very sinister, and maybe they don't have rights at all, and they've just been flying under the radar and operating on some kind of premise that graffiti is just in the public domain.
But then why go through the effort of getting Brandalize involved and having it be a collaboration if you were just trying to, like...
Because maybe Guest didn't know. Maybe Guest really genuinely thought Brandalized was
sorry, you're saying Brandalized
doesn't even own it.
Maybe, I mean, this company doesn't even... This feels like a company that like an AI bot made. I will throw up another image on the screen right now that is their About Us on Brandalize, yes, I think they're About Us, or like who we are. For the last 13 years, we have been systematically securing the rights to the world's most famous graffiti in support of global fan culture. We know that 99.99% of the world cannot afford the astronomical prices of prestigious auction houses. To solve this, Brandalize TM partnered with the world's finest brands and manufacturers to give you, the fans, your own affordable graffiti collectible. Again, if Banksy was having a problem with Guess, I don't think it's...
so funny to me, though,
yes,
is that they specifically said art houses. But we're not talking about that, we're talking about graffiti. And the only time that I can pair those two ideals together is when Banksy did sell his artwork in auction. And what happened? Oh, he shredded it. It was rigged to shred as soon as it was purchased.
Now maybe,
because he is against that. So this is weird.
Do you think it's a marketing stunt?
It could be. So it could be. It could be very much that, to try to, but that is risky. He's encouraging people to shoplift, because what if they do? So would Guess agree to that?
Let's say that they agreed. It might just be like, all you're going to get in writing is that Banksy will help get people's attention on the brand. Like, they are not going to submit anything for approval. Like, you know what I mean?
Well,
so they might have agreed to something again. Hey, Banksy will do 2 posts about it or something like that. Yeah. And that's all they got. And then he does this and he goes, well, I brought people to your store. And you know what I mean?
Yeah, so the thing is that it could totally be a marketing stunt, right? The only thing that really makes me think it maybe isn't, because the gray area, you're right, maybe they weren't aware of how he would do that. That could still work. Mm-hmm. But all of this together implies that Banksy is really selling out secretly.
And
I
I
just don't buy that. Because unless he's totally a fraud this whole time and has just been working towards something and having a different message than what he really believes in is doing, that would be wild. And if we found that out, goodbye to anybody who cares about Banksy, because like they would just be over it so fast.
What I want more information on, and what I'm gonna keep doing some digging on, and I'll bring it up maybe in like I'll post it in like a YouTube short or something if I find more information. I want to see what the agreement between Banksy's people, and Brandalize is. That I think will help shed some light on this, because I could very easily see a scenario where somebody is misrepresenting the rights that they have. I've had
keep talking. I'm looking something up in real time.
I've gone to licensing shows before where you'll have, this person selling, they'll have like a big poster. I'm trying to think of a really good example. There was like one for like this drive, talking about cars, this like performance driver who does a lot of stunts and stuff like that, and I was like, oh, so cool. Like I don't know how I'm gonna put this into a product, but just personally I'm a big fan. So I was meeting with their team about something else in their portfolio. And I was like, well, what about so-and-so? Just out of curiosity, that's crazy that you guys signed with him. And even though they had his picture and the car and everything up on the thing that you could see all around this convention space, they only had the rights to use certain logos that belong to that kind of overall IP in certain markets around the world. So you could not make an RC car with those logos because somebody else had those rights and they handled those rights internally. You couldn't make an energy drink with that. You could make a piece of luggage because that category wasn't taken, or you could do a hat in this country because that was available. So, just because somebody is representing the rights to something doesn't mean that they have them all out. Normally it's really messy. Disney and like Universal's a little, but Disney's usually kind of the gold standard of, if they own something, they kind of own it outright, unless there's a weird fringe scenario where there's like an actor's likeness, and then that's kind of a whole other mess. But like generally Disney owns it lock, stock, and barrel. You can do whatever you want in whatever country because they kind of have it all. But smaller places like this, like houses that hold IP, might have, a big client, but they only were able to get these categories in these territories because the other ones are taken up by people. So there could have been, hey, in principle, I want to offer my work to more fans. Great, in principle. Streetwear collabs, or these people are maybe turning something for a profit, but they're doing it in a way that aligns with my values. This is what like Banksy's people might be thinking. So it's okay if they represent them. Oh, yes.
I have found interesting information.
Okay.
This comes from mixmag.net. Okay. But it says that apparently just a couple days ago, the Regent Street store, which is their flagship store in London, had to close, and they took down the merchandise and they covered up the sign on the window. That means this was not a marketing stunt, because if it was, they would continue to sell it because the goal would be to sell. So they took it down. They are recalling it, if you will.
Are they selling it elsewhere still? Was it just that location?
I think it was it seems like it's just that location. It's not on their website, this merchandise. So if it was there, it's not anymore. So this does tell me that something did go wrong.
Okay, so...
And wait, there's more. There's more. So it goes on to say the back and forth of like him. Guess I don't think has made a statement yet about this. At least not that I could tell. I looked at their Instagram and I didn't see anything. So unless it was like in their stories or something and then it disappeared, that would be the only thing. But there was nothing I could see. But it does say that Brandalized made a statement.
Oh, they did?
Yes. So they said on their Instagram, in response to Banksy, a quote from Banksy from 2012. And it says, "Any graffiti in a public space that gives you no choice whether you see it or not is yours. It belongs to you. It's yours to take, rearrange, and reuse." So that's a quote from Banksy back, but they used that as a response. And then they said, this is their own words, I think, asking for permission is like asking to keep a rock someone just threw at your head. So this tells me that my hypothesis. Yeah, well, yeah. This tells me that my hypothesis that they are holding this as like assuming that it's like basically public domain, free use like, kind of thing is what they're doing. I think that's really what's going on here. So
this is really interesting.
And I don't think we can say that it is like a marketing stunt, a publicity stunt, because it's bad publicity. Why would you do that? They had to take it down. They didn't sell anything. No. That is not coming from the perspective of someone who does marketing. As an agency, I would never, ever work with a brand on giving them some kind of strategy that would make them have to recall their items from the shelf. But the fact that they said this tells me that I really do think that Brandalized thinks that they can have it because it's graffiti. It's not like actually
or there might be some kind of like, because again, they've been doing this for a while and this is the first time we've talked about it, so they might have just like a handshake deal on the types of things that it could go out to, because I'm sure they would not want Banksy kind of going after them, even though it might be fair use.
But or it might be Banksy like, can go after them and we might see a lawsuit.
We might. So this is going to be a developing thing. We'll keep you posted on it as things develop. You'll probably see it in the YouTube shorts, just because we can update it a little bit quicker than a full video.
Yeah.
But yeah,
in terms of you saying it's like a handshake deal or whatever, the thing is that how would that happen? Because isn't it partially also the responsibility of Guess as the brand to like do their due diligence and make sure that Brandalized actually has the property that they say they have?
It is, but I have seen deals before where there is a surprising lack of due diligence, so they might have even just pointed to other collabs in the marketplace with Funko or other things like that, and basically said, look, that's in the market, nothing came of it, so that's kind of your proof that we can do something. Again, just speculating, don't know for sure, but I have seen some deals with very little due diligence make it pretty far before people start checking things. I've seen it in Funko. Who does it? Brandalize. Oh, hey, I want to do Banksy. Great, let's sign a deal. And it just kind of made its way there, and nobody said, wait, does Brandalize have the right to do that? Because then they would have been like, well, look, they did Funko. So
see, I don't know, because
I don't know.
This begs the question, though, how have they been getting away with that up until this point and flying under the radar?
That's what I want to know, and that's what I don't know yet.
Because here's also what I'm thinking, Nick. Yes. It's like, so let's say, for instance, that Brandalized did actually get the proper rights to do Banksy's artwork, which means that Banksy would have had to make a deal with Brandalized, which it sounds like he didn't. But let's just pretend he did, right? And you'd think maybe it's just some of it, like lesser known Banksy's or whatever. But that's not even the case, because on the clothing that Guess had, like it was like the flower thrower and the balloon girl and like the stuff that you really know, like major Banksy stuff.
My wild speculation is that there was maybe some kind of loose agreement for them to use some of his work, understanding that he couldn't outright yay or nay it because of its free use, more of like a soft endorsement if it were done in the right context, like collectibles or streetwear art. And then they went and they ran with that kind of that approval and went to something that was too big. Because if he's not about selling stuff and things like that, then he should have, why wasn't he telling his people to steal, like when they did a Funko collab, because Funko's huge, or when they did the Bathing Ape, or when they did the Kappa collab. I think that there might have been something where if it was the right person or the right streetwear kind of collab, there was maybe this kind of soft, if it not an approval, not an outright disapproval. And then they took it a little too far with Guess, and maybe that was too big, too mass market for Banksy.
But Banksy would just not have the ability to agree to or whatever.
Exactly.
On any of
so
these.
It was more of a don't mobilize your fan base against us in this kind of soft agreement. Again, wildly speculating.
Yeah.
As this stuff comes up, we need to wrap it up. I have a call in a little bit.
Okay. I just feel like, I don't know, this seems like
it seems like a lot of gray areas
really
like compiled on top of it.
Yeah, with this, that means that in a sense he's kind of selling out, which I kind of don't think he would.
I don't think he would. So I feel like there's something else to this.
There are some unanswered questions here,
and as this
there
develops,
may be a lawsuit. I feel like there could be grounds for one based on what I'm seeing.
We'll keep updating you on it, and we'll see where this lands. But this is a great kind of kickoff to our licensing video later in the week.
Yeah.
That will just kind of
if that was at all interesting to you, just you wait.
This.
Licensing is so cool.
Yeah,
we'll talk way more about
it, and that'll be like a little field trip to a store, a really cool store that's doing licensing in a very different way. So I really, really am excited to show you guys that. If there's any interest in lives, as we talk about licensing and as it pertains to kind of being part of a business that makes product and puts other people's IP on product, if that's interesting, if you want to do a live event where we kind of iterate some ideas or somebody's hitting a wall somewhere, comment, shoot us an email.
We can answer any questions for you. We'd love to.
If you need a reference on a factory or somebody that has Disney approved or like anything like that, more than happy to share it, more than happy to iterate live, and maybe that will help somebody else get over a hurdle. I don't think there's any positive to gatekeeping anymore. I want to share what I have. We want to share what we have with anybody else who could help that as a stepping stone, because then you help others and we all help each other, and the rising tide lifts all boats. So with that, I think we're going to wrap it up.
I think so. We'll keep you posted about this, and if you investigate and find anything,
please let us know.
Let us know. We'll shout you out.
Until next time, though, it's business as usual.
Bye.
Bye.